What's up guys, and welcome to the Minecraft Military Force. Today we're looking at the USA military collection, and it is pretty extensive. Already we done the Ukrainian military build collection, then we did the Russian one, and then someone asked for the US, so I just compiled this today. And just for this video, I actually just completed the redesign of the B-2 stealth bomber, the Flying Dorito, and the B-52. So I really wanted to get these guys nice and pretty for the video. But yeah, let's get started with the Abrams tank, because that's the quintessential American military vehicle. So I have a couple different Abrams tank over here. This one's your standard M1A2 Set V3 variant. That's pretty common today. And I do have the version where they turn the turret backwards for train loads. And then right over here, this is armed with a crow. So that's the automatic weapons control station. And then I have another one. This one has the Tusk ERA armor on the side. And then I also have it in the OD green with the brown. You might have seen this in Europe, maybe around Poland or Latvia or something on a parade. And then here's the Set V3, but it's in the woodland camouflage, which is getting increasingly common these days. And then right over here, this is the M1A1, so it's an older model, the SA with the ARAT-1. And these guys were sent to Ukraine. And then we have the OD green, so I just made it like all green. In real life, though, it's kind of difficult because it's between green and brown, but, I just made it green like that. All right, so next up, we have the Bradleys. These are infantry fighting vehicles, and starting here in the front, we got the M2A3 Bradley in the woodland camo, and then next to that, we have the M2A3 in the desert tan. And you might notice that there's like a couple different variations because some of them I have the extra armor here on the side. So let me see if this is the same one. Yeah, it's called the Brat apparently. All right, next up we have the older M2A2 ODSA, so Operation Desert Storm Situational Awareness version. And these are pretty much the guys that were sent to Ukraine, and there's also different configurations with the TOW missile launcher lined up to fire right there, and then here it is, tucked away on the side. And then here they are with the Brat armor. All right, so next up we have the Stryker. There's a couple different variations here, and there's actually one additional one in addition to everything here. That's for engineering. So here are the ICVs, infantry carrier vehicle. Have it in green and tan. And this one is the medevac version, so this is supposed to be a cross right there. I also have the MGS, the mobile gun system variant, which was kind of discontinued. And also with the slat armor on the sides, really well known in Iraq, Afghanistan. And then right over here, this was the one with the ATGM launcher on the top. And then next up, we have the M1117. This is the Guardian armored security vehicle. Have it in two colors. And then next up, this is actually quite new. This is the M1301 ISV infantry squad vehicle, so it's pretty highly mobile. And then behind it, we have a LAV-25 used by the U.S. Marine Corps for amphibious landings. And then this one also Marine Corps, the AAV-7, also known as the Amtrak. And I'd have this one with additional armor, I think. The armor's a little bit different. All right, so now let's move up to some aviation stuff, and then we'll go back the other way. So right over here in the front, we have the F-15E Strike Eagle. A lot of people actually like this a lot. It's in a darker livery because it's used for ground attack. And I do have the F-15C. This is for the air, so it's a lighter shade of gray. Then next up, we have the F-35 Lightning II. This is a really popular stealth 5th generation fighter aircraft. A lot of countries own this, and this one is the F-35A, so used by the Air Force. And then we have the F-35B, so it's used for vertical takeoff and landing, so it has that big fan, turbo fan inside there. And then we have the F-35C. This is used for carrier, so the wingspan is a lot wider, and it can also fold up its wings. All right, next up we have the F-22 Raptor. This is also a 5th generation fighter jet. It's discontinued, but it's still probably the most effective fighter aircraft. And then right over here is the F-16 Fighting Falcon, iconic. And then we have the FA-18 Super Hornet. So these are used in the carriers and have a couple different variations where they folded up the wings. And then these ones, they are kind of like in storage mode, so they have the red tags around, they block the holes and everything. And then this one, it has just an open canopy, so imagine a crew inside. Then we have the twin-seater variant of it, so you can see the cockpit, it's a lot longer than that one. And then we have the Blue Angels. This is U.S. Navy Flight Demonstration Team, Flight Display Team, whatever you want to call it. And then I think this one's a Growler, so it's an electronic warfare aircraft. That's with the wings folded up. And then we have the iconic A-10 Warthog, still used today. Even in Iran, they're striking some targets. And then this one in the back, it just has a shark nose. All right, and then we have the B-2 stealth bomber, the flying Dorito of doom. I just finished it up, as I said before. Yeah, it's really iconic. And I have two modes here. This one is in landed mode, so it has these, doors that pop out. And here at the bottom, this is where the landing gear are, and there's going to be bomb bays right there in the middle. Carry some heavy bombs. And then this one, it's in flight mode. You can really see how people thought this was like a UFO. It's an alien saucer. It really does look like a UFO for real. And then over here we have the B-52H Stratofortress. It's also known as the Buff or Big Ugly Fat Fella. And I have two of them right over here. These are the US strategic bombers, and it's armed with some cruise missiles right there. So there's like a bunch of them. These are the JASSM ERs that they're carrying. Again, they're used quite recently in Iran during the war there. And this one's from Minot Air Base, and the other one in the back, this one is from Louisiana. So they're actually from different bomb wings, and this one has a drogue chute because it's what they use for landings usually. All right, and then to the side, we have some rail cars because the U.S. Army and military, they use them a lot. So I did build some TPDX. These are 89-footers. And also have the DODX 40,000 series flat car. So these guys are heavy duty. They actually have 3 axle bogies, and they could carry 2 Abrams tank on top. Maybe could put some Bradleys as well. And then these other ones, they're just carrying, regular logistics equipment like HEMTs, FMTVs, Humvees, etc. And you'll often see these really long trains in the U.S. When they doing exercises and whatnot. And this goes on for a while. So now let's go up to the other side. So there's a couple surface-to-air missiles, like this one's the THAAD, which is the Terminal High Altitude Area Defense. China really doesn't like this because it can shoot down, ballistic missiles. So really advanced. And then over here we have the C-RAM trailer, and they just mounted a Sea-Whiz onto a trailer. So it's like an Army variant of the Phalanx system used for air defense. And then right over here is the iconic Patriot surface-to-air missile. So here I have it pulled by a HEMTT truck, and then here's the launchers by themselves. And also have it in green as well. And then to the side over here, we have some ICBMs. These are the Minuteman 3s. And it's basically the land base of the nuclear triad from the US. And here is the silo. These are actually in North Dakota in Minot. The same air base, I guess, where they have the B-52s, I guess. And yeah, these are all supposed to be the same silo. I just have it in different stages. So this is closed. They slide the door open, so it's like that. And then when it fires, this is what it looks like, or what I think it looks like. When I try to find pictures of it, I just found like a bunch of different liveries of it. So I'm not sure what exactly is the regular variant, because some of them are from museums and stuff. And then right over here on the side, we have the sea-based nuclear missile, ICBM. So this one's the Trident D5, I believe. This is fired from the Ohio class submarine, Ohio Skibbity Brain Rot. And then over here we have the anti-scale fence. These are used in Washington, D.C. to, block protests. All right, so in the next row we have another missile system. This is called the Typhon MRC. So basically it's like a land-based Tomahawk, but they can also fire some other missile. This is an SM-6 missile. So basically they turn like sea-based missiles and they put it on land. It's a fairly new system, but I have like the control station here, and then here's the launchers, and here's the trailer when it looks like normally. All right, so next up we have some Humvees. These are iconic US military vehicles. I even have them around my neighborhood. There's like a little naval base outpost. So there's a lot of different variations here, including Medevac 1, the one with the flatbeds, and even one without doors. They do that a lot. That one has a shelter, machine gun, tow launcher, camouflage, and then this one's more armored. And I built all the trailers to go along with it, like generators and all that. All right, so next up we got some MRAPs. So right over here is the Cougar H, and yeah, I have it in 2 colors, and then I have the HG variant, so it has 1 more axle. And then this is the Oshkosh MATV. I should probably make a green one. Yeah, okay, maybe that might be the green one. And then next to that we have the RG-31 Nyala. It's like a South African design. And then we also have the RG-33, also, South African. And then we have the LATV. Honestly, I need to redo this, but this one's by Hisok 05. And then we have the Max Pro MRAP. have it in green as well. And then next up we have the M113 infantry carrier vehicle. It's an armored personnel carrier. It's used for a long time since Vietnam. But I also have the M577 command post carrier, as well as the medical ambulances, and in green as well. And then over here, this is also by Hisuk. It's a Buffalo MRAP. All right, so let's go back to aviation, I guess. So here's the other F-22 Raptor. I just have drop tank. And then right over here, this is a Harrier. These are still being used, but they're going to be phased out by having it in, different colors. So it's like dark gray and then gray. And also, this one is landed, so you can see the landing gears down. And it's on diagonal, but when it goes flying, I made it go straight, so that's why I have two variations of that. So these are flying. And then if we go over here, we have the F117. This is the Nighthawk. It's by Evo and myself. It's actually pretty old design, but still kind of in service. And then if we move over here, we have the Global Hawk. This is RQ-4B by Martacha and myself. So yeah, it's like one of the largest drones. It's pretty huge. Now let's go back this way. Over here, this is by Zytrix. It's the U-2 spy plane famously shot down by the Soviet Union. And then right over here, we have the U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds display team. These are F-16s. So I do have the single seat, and here's the double seat, twin-seater. And these guys, they're just flying in the air, so retracted landing gears. Then over here we have some more drones. So right over here is the RQ-7B Shadow by Anise Leaf. Then we have the MQ-1C Gray Eagle, also by Leaf. And then we have the MQ-9 Reaper, again by Leaf. All right, now let's go down this row over here. So here are the U.S. Marine Corps trucks. These are the Oshkosh MTVR. So I have a bunch of variations here, some with the regular cab, and then these guys with the armored cab. So there's some differences there. This guy's also a tow truck variant of it, like a wrecker with a crane. Here's in tan. I also have the trailer back over there. And yeah, I just built that recently as well. Next up, we have the M109 A6 Paladin. So yeah, it's a self-propelled howitzer, have it green, and they're firing. And then these guys have the travel lock. I also have the reloading vehicle, the field ammunition supply vehicle. For as well, you just put this in the back of the howitzer. Next up, we have the M270 MLRS multiple launch rocket system. Have it in a couple colors. This one is the A1 variant, so it's kind of old. Here it is firing. And I guess this one, it just says, it doesn't even say anything, so just M270. So I think these two guys, they're like the older variant, and then this one's supposed to be the newer one, so yeah, I have it in tan. And then we have the HIMARS. I recently redesigned the face, gave it a facelift, so it looks a lot cooler. Before it's kind of flat. So yeah, these are used in Ukraine. So I had the smiling HIMARS, but this is the US Army video, so I'm gonna delete that one. But this is the US Army video, so I'm gonna delete that one. But yeah, I have it in tan as well. And then over here is the M777 howitzer. Really cool. And have it in green. Then we have the Avenger. This is an anti-air missile system. So mounted it on a Humvee. Then we have some ATACMS. So a couple different designs here. And this is the JASSM ER when it's in flight mode. And then this is what it looks like folded up. And then next to that, we have the U.S. Coast Guard Defender boat. This is by Montez. It's kind of old, but classic design. All right, then to the side, we have the Hesco Bastion Barrier Wall. It's a wall made out of dirt, very iconic in the Middle East. And let's move up to the next row. So we have some fuel trucks. So these are some FMTV fuel trucks. Then we have a Hammett fuel truck. And then next to that, we have an International R11 refueler. These are the aviation trucks, while the other ones, they're for, regular Army equipment. And then here is the Stryker I was talking about, the ESV variant. So it has the mine roller there in the front. That one is raised up. And then we have the M88 Hercules Armor Recovery Vehicle and the M9 ACE, pretty much like a bulldozer. And then here it is, a bridge layer. This one is made by Anise Leaf, so it's the M104 Wolverine Assault Bridge from Abrams tank chassis. And then over here is the Assault Breacher, so I have it a couple different color scheme as well as the mine plow down and up. And then here it is firing the mine clearing charges. And then here it is with the lane markers coming out. All right, next up we have a bunch of vehicles I made for the USS Theodore Roosevelt right over there. So yeah, I have the whole pack over there. I don't think I have to go over it again. There's a Tilly crane and some forklifts. And over here we have the E-2 Hawkeye. It's an AWACS plane also for the carrier. And here it is, folded wings. All right, so moving up to some more aircraft, we have the Little Bird MH6. It's built by an Easy Leaf. And over here, this is the Bell V280 Valor. So it's like a hybrid between a V22 and a Black Hawk. The next up here is the actual Black Hawk, the UH-60M. So I have another variant in the back where we open up, the cabin, and then this one is just a medevac version. All right, next up we have the MV-22 Osprey. This is the B variant. Yeah, I think it was either Marines or... Yeah, I think it's definitely the Marines. I have a Navy version, but it's back over there. Then here is the Chinook, very iconic banana. And then here is the Seahawk. So this is the MH-60R variant. And you also have the S variant, so that's the Nighthawk. So there are some subtle differences between them. And they also have it with the folded up tail in the back used for storage. All right, and then to the side we have the B-1 Lancer. So this is the third bomber, and here it is with spread out wings, and this is with wings swept back so it can go supersonic. All right, so moving up here to the side we have the C-27J Spartan. This is an old build by Mick Alpaca. Going over here, this is by Hisok. It's the CH-53E Super Stallion. Again, another old build. And then next up we have the C-17 Globemaster III. It's a heavy transport aircraft. Very iconic. And then next up we have the UH-1Y Venom. It's kind of derived from the Huey. And then I have another variant of it with the closed doors, because that one's like a door gunner. All right, and then over here we have the AH-1Z Viper, used by the U.S. Marine Corps. And behind it we have some U.S. Coast Guard aircraft like the Jayhawk, as well as the Dolphin, built by Montez, me, and Mick Alpaca, although we need to redo it. All right, so let's go back to these vehicles. So here is, a bunch of trailers used for the FMTV, so I have the whole family right over here. Lots of different, variations of it. Like this one's the expansible van. It has this cool little thing that pops out. And then right over here we have some HEMTs. So I think these are like the PLS, palletized load systems, so it can carry containers and all that. I do have the trailers for that as well. And then here it is empty. And then this one is the LHS variant, so the load handling system. You can see between these two, they just have one less axle. So these are like 4 axles. This one's 5 axles. That's the main difference. There's also a U.S. Marine Corps variant, but I did not make that one the LVSR. So yeah, I was building all of that. And then here is the Oshkosh HEMTT M977 cargo truck. So this is with the crane, activated. But usually it's folded right there in the back. So let's move out to some shelters. So this is by an Easy Leaf, just an aircraft shelter. Then next to that we have a tent, which you use for your army base. And then here I made a porta potty. Then here's the compact design. And then here's some redstone. These are supposed to be working. If you do have regular Minecraft, it'll work. Then this one's just a barrier that goes up. All right, next up we have the A-10 Warhawk hardened aircraft shelter. So yeah, here we have a Warhawk. And I pretty much built this for Osan Air Base. And then this is what it looks like when it's closed. And then over here, also from Osan Air Base, we have the F-16 shelter. So it's a lot smaller, but they have like twin ones where they're next to each other. And you can see it is, very detailed inside. Then this is what it looks like when they closed up the door. All right, moving back to some vehicles. So we have the HEMTT wrecker trucks here. This one's like armored cab. Then we have some more FMTVs. These are actually like tractor trailers, so they can carry these as well. So I built a bunch of trailers there. And then we have the HE heavy equipment transporter, the M1070. That one's in green. Got the trailer. And then here is the older M939 truck used in the Gulf War era. I think it is still in like a limited service. And then over here, this is by Mick Alpaca. It is the LCAC used on amphibious assault ships. So here it is with down, and here it is up. I do need to redo this. And over here, this is actually a work in progress design. I think it was being worked on by Montes a long time ago. And I worked on it a little bit, but just wanted to add it to the arsenal. It's kind of complete-ish. So next up, we have the CMV-22 Osprey. So this is the Navy variant of the Osprey. So you can see it is a bit different, especially like the livery. Like has like a black nose, and here it is, the rotors folded up. And then next to that we have the C2 Greyhound, which it was replacing, so these guys are still in service though. And then over here, these are actually still work in progress. Just wanted to add it for the video. This is the MH-47G. It's used by the 160th SOAR, so this is the Night Stalkers. It was used in the operation with Venezuela, get Maduro. And then over here is the HH-60 Pavhawk, so it just has that refueling boom in the front. Then we have the C-130J Hercules, and this is the J-30 variant, so it has an extended fuselage, but it's still pretty common. So compare that with the regular C-130J. See, this one is a lot shorter. And then behind it, we have the AC-130J Ghost Rider, so this is the gunship variant of it. So we have a bunch of these armaments there on the side. Okay, next to that we have the KC-135 Stratotanker. So it's a pretty active aircraft. Unfortunately, it's somewhere lost right now in like Iraq, I believe, in the operation against Iran. But here it is refueling an F-15C. So got the refueling probe that drops down like that. All right, next up we have the E-3 Sentry. This is an AWACS plane, very cool, with the big radar dome at the top of it. And behind that, we have a C5M Super Galaxy. This is actually by Sketsy. It's pretty old and needs to be redone, to be honest. But it's like the largest cargo plane in the U.S. Air Force. And then over here in the back, we have the USS Freedom. This is by Martacha NL. Unfortunately, this ship, I believe it's being decommissioned or something, or has already been retired, because it was like a prototype kind of thing. But I do have two versions here, because one of them has this camouflage paint right on the side. And then we have the USS Ohio. It's the Ohio class submarine with the Trident D5 nuclear ballistic missile. So here they are in these silos. So again, the naval part of the triad. And then over here, this is an Arleigh Burke class destroyer. This is the Flight 1, so the original one, the USS Arleigh Burke, because it's 51. Yeah, it's a pretty iconic US Navy ship. And then here's the Ticonderoga class cruiser, which these two are both built by Sketsy. And right over here, this is my greatest build ever on the Minecraft Military Force, I think. This is the USS Theodore Roosevelt CVN-71. It's a super carrier, so it has a whole flight wing. The reason why I have two of them here is because one of them has an empty flight deck, or relatively empty. It doesn't have a lot of these FA-18s here on the side. Also, the elevators are lower down, so you guys can have like two different modes of it. And yeah, I already made a video about it, so if you guys want more, check it out. And then down over here we have the P-8 Poseidon. It's like an anti-submarine warfare aircraft, so it can drop like buoys into the ocean. And I think this is the last one right over here. This is the MRO, maintenance and repair operations or something like that, for the C-130. And it's built by Martacha NL and myself. We were building this together. And it can also hold up some Blackhawks in there as well if you want that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the US military in Minecraft. It's actually quite a lot of builds, and here it is all together, from the sky. If you guys want to download this world for yourself, it is available on Java and Bedrock. It's going to be on my Patreon. The link will be in the description down below. And if you guys become a Patreon, you help support the channel, because YouTube pays me very, very little. It's really not worth it without your support. If you guys want me to continue making these military videos, please consider being a patron. But if you can't, you can still help by leaving a like, commenting down below your favorite build, or whatever's on your mind. Also check out our Discord. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.